There will always be people who don't believe in you, people who try to bring you down, and situations that test your patience. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity, to feel like you need to respond, to defend yourself, to set the record straight. But here's the truth. Every time you engage in a battle that God never meant for you to fight, you're wasting valuable energy that could be used for your purpose. The enemy's biggest weapon isn't always destruction, it's distraction. If he can't stop you, he'll try to detour you. He'll send people to criticize you, challenge your character, and make you question your path. But the real test isn't in proving them wrong. It's in ignoring the noise and staying focused on your assignment. Jesus understood this principle. He was mocked, criticized, and falsely accused. People misunderstood him, spread rumors about him, and even tried to trap him in his words. But he never wasted his time defending himself. He knew that his mission was bigger than the opinions of others. He had a purpose to fulfill, and he refused to be distracted. When people questioned him, he often responded with wisdom and grace, but he never let their words pull him away from his calling. That's the level of peace you need to walk in. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every battle is yours to fight. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stay in peace and let God fight for you. Think about David before he faced Goliath. His own brothers ridiculed him. They questioned his intentions, mocked his abilities, and tried to belittle him. David could have stopped and argued. He could have tried to explain himself, to prove he was capable, to make them see his worth, but instead the Bible says he turned away from them. He refused to let their negativity pull him off course. He stayed focused on the real battle ahead. And because of that, he stepped into his destiny. If David had wasted time arguing, he might have missed his moment of victory. Some of you today are so focused on proving your worth to people who will never see it that you're missing what God is trying to do in your life. You're fighting battles that aren't worth your energy. You're losing sleep over people who are never going to change their opinion. The truth is, their approval doesn't determine your destiny. Their opinion doesn't change God's plan for you. You don't have to fight every battle. Some things are better left in God's hand. When you choose peace, you're showing God that you trust Him to be your defender. You're showing Him that you believe He sees what's happening, that He's keeping the records, and that He will handle it in His perfect timing. Walking in peace doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Doesn't mean you don't stand up for yourself when necessary. But it does mean you don't let negativity consume you. You don't let the wrong voices influence your decisions. You don't spend time trying to convince people who were never meant to understand you. Some battles are simply distractions designed to pull you off course. Don't take the bait. God has bigger things in store for you. He's calling you higher. But you can't go higher if you're constantly weighed down by offense, frustration, and trying to please people who don't see your value. The next time someone criticizes you, instead of reacting, take a step back and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this battle necessary for my destiny? If it's not, let it go. Stay in peace. Keep moving forward. When you stop trying to prove yourself and start trusting God, He will take care of the rest. He will handle your enemies, fight your battles, and prepare a table for you in the presence of those who doubted you. So stay in peace and let God do what only He can do. Forgiveness is not always easy, but it is always necessary. Holding on to resentment, bitterness, and past hurts only weighs you down and keeps you from experiencing the full joy and peace that God has for you. Life is too short to let negative experiences from the past dictate your future. When you choose to forgive, you're not excusing what happened, but you are releasing yourself from the burden of carrying it. You're saying, God, I trust you to handle this. I trust you to bring justice in your way and in your timing. There are people today who are stuck, not because of their ability or potential, but because they haven't let go of an offense. Someone mistreated them, betrayed their trust, spoke harsh words, or walked away when they needed them most. It's understandable to feel hurt, but you cannot allow that pain to define your future. If you hold on to it, you're only giving that situation power over you. The enemy would love for you to stay stuck in anger and unforgiveness because he knows that as long as you do, you won't step into the full blessing and freedom that God has for you. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison for something he didn't do. He had every reason to be bitter, to hold a grudge, to seek revenge when he finally had power, but instead Joseph chose to forgive. He said to his brothers, "What you meant for harm, God used for good." That's the power of forgiveness. It doesn't just set the other person free, it sets you free. It allows you to move forward without being weighed down by bitterness and resentment. Maybe someone walked out of your life. Maybe a friend betrayed you, a family member hurt you, or a coworker took credit for your work. It's painful, but don't let that wound fester. Don't let what they did keep you from the joy that is ahead. God saw what happened. He knows the pain you've endured, and He promises to be your vindicator. He will restore what was taken, and He will bring beauty from the ashes. But you have to do your part, and that means letting go of the offense. Forgiving doesn't mean you have to be best friends with the person who hurt you. It doesn't mean you tolerate toxic behavior or let people continue to mistreat you. It simply means you refuse to let their actions steal your peace. You are releasing the bitterness so that you can move forward. You are choosing to rise above the situation and trust God to handle it. One of the biggest obstacles to forgiveness is the belief that if we let go, we are letting the other person off the hook. But the truth is, holding on to unforgiveness doesn't hurt them, it only hurts you. It keeps you tied to the pain, playing it over and over in your mind. But the moment you choose to forgive, you break that chain. You stop carrying the weight of what happened. You stop allowing it to poison your heart and your mind. Jesus understood this better than anyone. He was betrayed by Judas, denied by Peter, and mocked by those He came to save. And yet as He hung on the cross, His words were, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." If Jesus could forgive those who crucified Him, how much more should we forgive those who have wronged us? Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about your freedom. It's about your peace, your joy, and your future. God has amazing things in store for you, but you can't step into the new while still holding on to the old. You can't embrace His blessings when your hands are full of resentment. You have to release the past so you can walk into the future with strength, joy, and confidence. When you forgive, you make room for God to bring new opportunities, new relationships, and new blessings into your life. So today, choose to forgive. Let go of the bitterness, the pain, the offense. Trust that God is in control. Trust that He sees what happened, and that He will bring justice in His time. Don't let what someone did to you keep you from the incredible future that God has planned. Forgive and move forward into the joy, peace, and blessings that await you. There are moments in life when people hurt us, betray us, or treat us unfairly. Situations arise where we feel wronged, overlooked, or mistreated. It's natural to want to set the record straight, to demand justice, to make sure that the people who hurt us feel the weight of their actions. But the truth is, holding on to the need for revenge or trying to force things to work out in our favor will only exhaust us. Instead of trying to fix everything on our own, we need to trust that God will make it right. He sees what happened. He knows the injustice, and He promises to be our defender. When you trust God to fight your battles, you take the weight off your shoulders. You no longer have to stress about getting even, proving your point, or making sure others recognize your worth. God is the one who vindicates, and when He steps in, He does it far better than we ever could. He has a way of turning what was meant to harm you into something that blesses you. He can take the very people who tried to push you down and use them as a part of your testimony. Think about David in the Bible. He was anointed to be king at a young age, yet he spent years running for his life because of Saul's jealousy. David had multiple opportunities to take matters into his own hands, to fight back, to remove Saul from his path, but he refused to act outside of God's timing. He knew that if God had called him to be king, then God would be the one to open the door. David didn't have to manipulate the situation, force his way to the throne, or take revenge on Saul. Instead, he trusted that God would make it right, and in time, God did. Saul was removed, and David stepped into his destiny without compromising his integrity. Some of you are facing unfair situations right now. Maybe someone at work is taking credit for your ideas. Maybe a friend betrayed your trust, or maybe someone spread lies about you. It's tempting to step in and try to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to make them pay for what they did. But that's not your job. God is your defender. He is the one who will bring justice. He is the one who will make things right in ways you never could. When you trust God with your battles, you shift your focus from revenge to peace. You stop carrying the burden of trying to fix everything and instead allow God to work behind the scenes. The Bible says that God prepares a table for us in the presence of our enemies. That means He doesn't just bring justice. He blesses us in front of those who doubted us. When you remain faithful, when you stay in peace, God will elevate you in ways that your enemies cannot ignore. But you have to be patient. Sometimes God's justice doesn't come immediately. Sometimes it feels like the wrong people are succeeding, like the ones who hurt you are getting away with it. But don't be discouraged. God's timing is perfect. He may not bring justice when you expect it, but He will bring it when it's right. He sees the bigger picture, and He knows how to turn things around in a way that not only restores you, but also strengthens you. The key is to keep your heart pure. Don't let bitterness take root. Don't let anger consume you. If you stay focused on trying to get even, you'll miss the bigger blessing that God has in store. Instead, release it into God's hands. Say, Lord, I trust You to make this right. I trust You to fight my battles. When you do that, you free yourself from the burden of resentment, and you position yourself to receive the victory that God has already planned for you. So today, choose to trust God. Let go of the need to control the situation. Stop worrying about how it will unfold. Know that He sees everything. He is working on your behalf, and He will make it right in His perfect way. Keep your peace, walk in faith, and watch as God turns your situation around in ways you never imagined. In life, we all face opposition. There will always be people who don't believe in us, who try to hold us back, who criticize our dreams, or even go out of their way to make things difficult. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity, to spend time worrying about what others are saying, and to feel frustrated when people misunderstand us or try to block our progress. But if you focus on your opponents, you will waste valuable energy that could be used to move forward. Instead of looking to the left and right at who's against you, set your eyes straight ahead and focus on the purpose God has given you. When Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, he faced constant opposition. People mocked him, tried to discourage him, and even plotted against him. They did everything they could to stop him from fulfilling what God had put in his heart. But Nehemiah refused to be distracted. He didn't come down from his work to argue with his enemies. He didn't waste time trying to prove himself or convince his critics that he was doing the right thing. He stayed focused, and because of that, he completed the wall in record time. The enemy knows that if he can get you distracted, he can slow you down. If he can get you consumed with the negativity, the criticism, and the people trying to stop you, you'll lose sight of what God is calling you to do. That's why you have to be disciplined in your focus. You have to remind yourself that you don't have time to waste on battles that don't matter. Your purpose is too important to be sidetracked by people who don't see your vision. Think about Jesus. He had plenty of opposition. Religious leaders who tried to trap him, people who doubted him, even some who betrayed him. But Jesus never let his enemies dictate his actions. He stayed focused on his mission. He knew that he wasn't sent to argue with the Pharisees or to prove himself to skeptics. He was sent to fulfill his purpose because he kept his focus. He completed the greatest assignment in history. In the same way, you have an assignment from God. There is something He has placed in you that only you can accomplish. The enemy will try to bring distractions, criticism, negativity, obstacles, but don't fall for the trap. Every minute you spend trying to fight a battle that doesn't matter is a minute you could be using to fulfill your purpose. Every time you stop to respond to negativity, you're delaying your own progress. Some people spend their whole lives fighting battles that don't matter. They argue with critics, try to win over people who will never support them, and let small distractions steal their joy. But when you know who you are and what God has called you to do, you don't have to respond to every attack. You don't have to prove yourself to people who don't believe in you. You don't have to chase after every critic trying to change their opinion. Let them say what they want. Let them doubt you. Let them try to stop you. If God is for you, it doesn't matter who is against you. The Apostle Paul said, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me. That means he wasn't looking around at the distractions. He wasn't getting caught up in the people trying to stop him. He had a goal and he stayed focused on it. That's the mindset you need to have. Stop worrying about who's against you and start focusing on the mission God has given you. Every time you're tempted to get discouraged by opposition, remind yourself, I'm not here to fight small battles. I'm here to fulfill my purpose. Stay focused, keep moving forward, and trust that God will handle the rest. When you stop giving your attention to negativity and start giving your energy to your calling, you will see God open doors, remove obstacles, and lead you into greater blessings than you ever imagined. Keep your eyes on the prize and watch how God takes you higher.